Hey, okay, so this is going to be a introductory video. I thought a video about some of my thoughts. I think I'm going to talk about design today, but also an intro video to my, I was going to say channel, but that's actually the first thing I want to talk about. This is going on a YouTube channel, but they're not really channels anymore. I don't know if they ever were channels. Hang on. Right, because like a channel is the same word as the river thing, where water is just flowing through this, and TV channels were like that. You turn on the dial to a channel number and you just get this flow. Channels are a better word, honestly, for Twitch channels because they're more like that, but even then they're not always on. Like, they have downtime. Twitch tries to make it like TV by allowing you to host other people. That was such a time, like turning on this box, and at any given point there's just a flow of stuff, and that led to a lot of interesting programming in off hours for TV channels. But YouTube's not like that. It's more like a repository. Like if your YouTube channel is like your YouTube webpage. I don't know if it counts as a webpage. I mean, YouTube is, so many services are on the web, like on the internet, like have a HTML page that you visit where you can interact with the content that's not on your personal computer but hosted by YouTube's computers. But then there's an app which connects in the same way but doesn't use HTML, although some apps use HTML in like an app container, and that's another story altogether. But yeah, I don't want to call my YouTube channel. I know that's the official nomenclature, but I don't want to call it a channel unless if I want to make it a channel somehow. It is my YouTube video repository, or YouTube video page. I'll have to think about what I want to call it. Honestly, I'm probably not going to stay on YouTube for super long. It's just like my first stop in my road trip of getting my voice out there and connecting with people. Because there's the local sphere that you connect with, and then there's, not even really the global sphere, because there's nothing except maybe traditional, like, government run channels on TV that like broadcast. There's nothing that really broadcasts to the whole world. And the internet connects people to people, but that's not like the whole world. It's like a secret map, like a secret network of little tiny countries that don't even see each other. Okay, I think that tangent's over. I had to really let it leave my brain. So, I originally wanted my first video to be about design because I got really inspired today, and what was I inspired about? I want to create. I'm drawn to computers and the internet, or I should say networking. I think because I love the idea of taking something that exists and using it to connect to new people in novel, fun ways. And there's something magical about connecting to people using magic light boxes and magic wire tubes of ethereal energy, and using like built upon math. And I'm not a very mathy person, so I haven't really done much with programming and making apps and building computers. Like lately, it's just too much. it doesn't really work with how my brain works. I'm very visual, and some of it's visual, but there's limits, like especially with how small technology has gotten. Like people are making chips using advanced software instead of just wiring simple components up. Like look at the inside of a modern computer compared to the inside of Commodore 64. It's dealing with it's completely different. But that doesn't mean the base substrate has changed from like the hardware, but the closest substrate to the user, that's also changed too. Like the easiest way for young people to get into, say, creating things on computers that they can use and manipulate and customize and allow other people to use, and to have other people's designs work with each other, is stuff like Discord bots, where there's just this really simple layer that you mess with that is still, it's programming, but it's not super low level. Like the control, you have less control, but it's approachable in the way that, like, I don't know, like Commodore Basic was to people who bought this computer and can just turn it on and go and make it do stuff. All you really do is make it do math and like really simple stuff until you got really advanced techniques. But that was really text based, and Discord bots are even kind of text based too. I haven't made a Discord bot. I've only made a Telegram bot, and I enjoyed that. It was really cool. But I want to deal more in the visual and touch, and there's not much touch when it comes to computers, except with like the interfaces we already have and what we can hack them into. Like there's certainly a diverse market of accessories that I should probably look into. Discord is a good example for me to use because it's something that I actually use a lot, but I also kind of don't like it. It's like I don't really know what it's for anymore. It, like pretty much everything else, social media has turned into like this, like an everything application. Like I was thinking about the history of Discord and why, like the core feature that brought me to it and is why I'll always have it installed is for gaming. Like it was designed for gaming, so it's not surprising that gaming is still its strongest feature. Like streaming easily, going on calls easily, having extra tools for dealing with gaming. They're even going harder nowadays with the whole guild thing. So I'll probably always use Discord for that, but like all the other stuff, like hanging out in a space and chit-chatting, like there have been better applications for that. Chit-chatting, like IRC, and like talking about stuff at length, like blogging, sharing information in persistent threads that people can search, forums. Discord would be cool replacement for all that if it was more customizable, but nothing's really, it's not open source, and even if it was, like I looked into Foscord, but you have to be like a programming wizard, and like it's made with like I think TypeScript. One of the clients is made with React, like this very textual thing that just, if your brain doesn't work textually, it just, oh my god. Like I remember learning VisualBasic.net. That was so nice. I could probably install something like that, but like that shit nowadays is, I remember I got a Mac Mini and bought, I forget the name, Xcode or whatever, the thing that they use for making applications. And my Mac Mini was just a little bit too old, and it was so slow. It took like minutes just to open and like minutes to do anything. It was like the most painful experience I've ever had coding. I didn't actually end up making really anything. I couldn't even make anything for my target device because it was also too old. And it's not even that old. Like, it's not ancient. It's like I had the iPhone SE the first one, and I have an iPad that's like a couple generations ago. Like, I don't know why that wouldn't work, but it wouldn't work. So I'm very skeptical of any modern, huge, clunky visual programming suite, especially made by proprietary companies like Microsoft and Apple. I'm not even doing a YouTube video. Like, I'm just talking to my phone, and like, talking and text are the things I'm talking about that I'm not super great at. But I think I just wanted to do something to get me started. Like, I am doing something visual here, but I haven't really figured out what I want to use that for. Like, how I want to communicate that way. Like, maybe I'll make videos of me practicing ASL, because I want to learn ASL. I want to learn sign language, and ASL is, well, I live in America, so it's the most usable one, and all the resources are written in English. Or at least the resource I have, that I have saved all the way back from college, over a decade ago. But it's a really good one. Yeah, I just want to do something. And yeah, if I upload this, this is me putting myself out there and exercising my creative muscles. I want to look into PeerTube, because I think that stuff's much cooler, even though it's a bit more complicated. But I also want to connect with people, because instead of just like going through website and documentation trying to figure out this stuff, I'd rather learn socially. I want to kind of get back to that. I've had trouble with that because learning social usually involves talking and listening, and my batteries for that are so small. And they've always have been. Like, I'm 36 now, and I've been, exercising those skills for a really long time. And I think everybody just has a natural cap to any skill that they can learn. Like, especially if it's one that you don't have like an aptitude, like you don't really enjoy it inherently, and you don't have a talent towards it. Like, at some point you have to switch to what works for you and what makes you happy. And I'm just not making much more progress with talking and writing and reading as I do with visual and tactile stuff, and I've really neglected the latter. Like, I've gotten really good at language, especially written, by focusing on like having really good grammar and being really intentional about vocabulary and using dictionaries and trying to be really efficient. Like, obviously right now this is just kind of a stream of consciousness, and I'm doing that on purpose, but outside of that, like, I usually don't do this kind of stuff. I talk very little, and I be very purposeful about what I'm going to put out there, and because of that, I don't actually put myself out there a whole lot. But it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, when I was young, I just didn't really talk, and I had a dad. I still have a dad, but he's really far away. But I have a dad that's kind of the same, and we did a lot of bonding just by being near each other, and with touch, and like sharing in visual activities. And in another universe, maybe I would have learned more stuff from him. Like, he's a very talented artisanal carpenter, and if I was interested in that, I think he would have been like the perfect teacher. And that just didn't happen because I wasn't interested in it, and I'm still not interested in it. And I really need to focus on the stuff that really makes me happy. But I'm grateful for my experiences with him, because I can look at those and as a bit of a prototype, which I think is one of the biggest strengths parents have in your life, is being a prototype. And maybe I can find in-person ways of connecting with people that is like visual, like, and tactile, like let's just take pottery as an example. You could totally learn pottery by just going to a pottery group or a pottery tutor and having them show you stuff and then just mimicking it, and then having them like help your hands move where they should go, or like you don't have to use a lot of words to help somebody get better at pottery. So that's a really easy example. But stuff with tech, that's a bit more trickier, because tech allows us to be physically distant. So people who struggle to be physically close can find themselves in a bit of a ditch, I guess. I have a physical location nearby that's a hackerspace, and to use the space like as like a house, you have to pay like kind of like a rent, and it's kind of expensive. But maybe I can volunteer to like get that cost down. I think that would be great. Just a place where I can hang out and read and create, but like near people, so I can give myself the opportunity to do socializing and learning that's more visual and tactile. Or at least have a place that I can build community with and swap ideas. Because what I'm looking for in experience with computers and the net is kind of unique, and I still haven't really figured it out. Like, it's like a painting I haven't really even finished the outline of. I just have this, I have something that I'm chasing after, and that's part of why this video is being made, is so that I can try to draw it out somehow and invite other people to talk with me and join in this creative process. I know I'm probably sounding really schizo right now, but that's me. So if you like that, then you'll get plenty of that, and you can totally be schizo with me. So another thing I want to get into is HTML, like just making websites. I have a NeoCities page, and I need to organize my bookmarks so it's easier to pull up, because for some reason whenever I go to the main page, I forget how the flow to getting to editing. Maybe what I really want to do is work on my web pages on my computer, my physical computer, like locally, and then upload. I haven't actually checked if you can do that, but that would be great. I just like the immediacy of messing with HTML and websites, and the idea that what you write is what you get. Like, it's organized in a somewhat visual like way that's like kind of easier to read than other types of coding, because it's like it's a document. You're describing how a page is going to look, and then it turns into that when you feed it to a web browser. That's really cool. I know not a lot of web pages are like that, but they don't have to be convoluted. They can be simple. I'm much more into Web 1.0 these days than Web 2.0. Like, interactivity, I think, should be reserved for other applications or other ways of connecting. Like, websites, like social media apps have become do everything. And I think part of that's on purpose commercially, so that the commercial holders of these websites and the products that they're advertising and want you to participate in is mostly controlled by them and not by you. Like, think about how many times on a mobile device that you've tried to force the desktop page and it just doesn't work anymore. Like, that seems like a bug, but those websites are doing it on purpose. They don't want you to be able to choose. And like, mobile web browsers don't even allow you to look at the, like, not only can you not change the HTML on the fly, you can't even look at the HTML without some sort of workaround. So I definitely want to do more with NeoCities. I'm not sure what, like, I'm still not sure what I'm looking for. I should have made this video right after I had my little brainstorming session at the cafe. It started actually with me trying to figure out how to make some kind of physical device that like went straight to someone else's house, that was like, visual tactile, like a board of lights that you could draw on with your hand or a stylus, and like it would show up on the other person's house and you'd see it and they could draw on top of it, and it's like this kind of collaborative drawing space. And it occurred to me just like how much equipment you'd have to make to get that to work. And although that would be cool, I'm much more inspired by people who take advantage of what they got, like the kind of like the fantasy junk mechanic. Like I'm reading a book about BBS, and that's kind of what they did. These were not expert programmers. These are people who discovered that they could take something, a modem that was already being used for something else, and a teletyper and a PC, and hook it up, which is like a little minimal set, unique creative setup to make it do something different. And then they made the BBS, which is like the first social media, really. And it was piggybacking on this huge network that was meant for telephones. And they turned it into something else. And that's what I want to do. I want to take what is there, most easily accessible, and build something on top of that that's clean and efficient, that connects us in a better way, in a more expressive, controlled way, like for the people, by the people, than we have now. Because right now, it's like big social media services like Discord and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, or clones that are open source that are so prohibitively complicated. Like some of the most creative people who just are not computer programming inclined, at least in the way that they think they have to be, like writing in C and Java and React and Ruby and all those different languages, those text-based languages. You don't think they can be programmers, so they just don't. They just wait for something better to show up. And I think I want to show people that they can get more hands-on, but I have to show myself I can do it first. I got really discouraged when I was younger because I really looked up to these kind of characters like Radical Ed and Cowboy Bebop, like the hacker character who surfed through the web through like a visual substrate and like manipulated the computers like magic. And I convinced myself that's not real. It's just we wish it's like that. The reality is you're sitting at a command prompt typing in text and being just like really boring. It's not inherently boring. I have a lot of programmer friends and they're not boring, but like for me it's actually boring, and trying to get myself into it was, I'm grateful for the stuff I learned, but it was not meant to be. So I just kind of went, oh, that's that. But it isn't that's that. Sorry, my phone died. You can totally, it's real. You can be the Jinx from Arcane, where you just take what you have and make something out of it, but you have to find your own way. Like, you can't just copy what someone else does. You can copy somebody and be inspired, but you have to find what works with you. And that's what I was failing to do, is that I kept trying to follow these guides written by these tech bros who are flourishing because their brain works well with text and mathematical abstractions, and like, people wonder why code has terrible documentation. It's because the people who largely write code don't think very visually. So like the idea of structuring their code so it's easy for a new person to read, and like making these, just they don't worry about that stuff, because just read the code is like, for them, that is the easiest thing to do, because they just think in code. Like one of my best friends, I asked him if he's like a verbal or a visual thinker, and he thought about it and he was like, I don't think I'm either. I think I'm an abstract thinker. I don't even think I have an internal voice in my head. Like when you think about something and you hear a voice talking, or like you imagine pictures when you're thinking. Like he says that he doesn't. It's like there's nothing going on. It's just abstractions. Like he couldn't describe it any more finer or more concrete than that. And I believe him. And I do think a lot of really mathy programming people are like that. So like in this economic environment where like there's a huge economic drive to pay people to code, like most coders are going to be that because it's the most economically viable. But that's only true as long as like human interface design is not important. And as you could see, like it is important, but like I'll go on a whole nother video about how no, you're not hallucinating. Human interface design, like how apps look and feel, is getting worse for you, but it's not getting worse for the companies that are making the human interface design. Like they're doing it on purpose for an economic reason, and I'll explain why. But yeah, like programming is, when you think about the word programming, is I have something sort of autonomous that I could configure to do something autonomously, and that's programming. And there's nothing about that definition that requires typing or writing words. Like, I'll try to think of an example later of like a way that you program something visually or tactily. I'm trying to think of one right now, but it's not coming. But my point is, like, it's totally real. You could totally do that. You could be the Jinx. You could be the Radical Ed. You could find ways of making what you have work into something else. That is the spirit of hacking. Hacking is not typing commands into a computer. Like, it can be, but like the idea that like you're breaking into the system, you defaced the website, you got the secret codes from the government's computer system. Like that actually used to be called something else, called cracking, like safecracker, but for some reason we forgot and started calling it hacking. I'm really glad that hacker spaces have kind of not reclaimed, but like they're using the word like in the original sense. Like you don't have to be someone with a degree from an engineering school to come up with cool inventions and be an invention guy, be a Doc Brown. Like, because to be a hacker in a hacker space is just coming together and saying like, can I make A out of B and C? Can I make something just with what I have? And sometimes people do that for like computer programmers will say like, oh, I hacked something up to mean that like they did it like the fast and dirty way. But like, it's not a purely negative connotation word. Like hacking is definitely its own thing, and it's not about coding. It's about creating and reconfiguring, and you get my point. But yeah, to wrap this all up, what I wanted to do with HTML, I totally remembered that one of the things I wanted to do with HTML and why I wanted to make a website, not just for like being out there, but because like I do have ideas and I probably should write them down. I don't know how. I need to figure out a good paradigm for memory management. Because right now I'm just like, if it's important, I'll think of it again and then I'll just do it. I can't decide if that's working for me or not. It's kind of working. But I want to make a repository of hacks for common apps to make your I'm gonna come up with a better word later, but like your digital life better. So like if you use Discord, there's not a lot of configuring you can do. So I don't have any tips for that, but like if you're using an internet browser, like there's a lot of settings and stuff you could do, or extensions you can do to get certain tweaks so that your experience is better, and like operating systems tweaks, like Windows tweaks and stuff like that. There's all these little tweaks out there that you can do to kind of take control back of your experience. And I'm compiling a list, and I was going to make a wiki because I like the idea of people contributing, and like that was just my default thought, is that wiki, you have this like interface that is widely understandable, and you have articles and links, and you submit, like people submit stuff. And although wikis I think I like in general, and I might host my own wiki, I realized, because I was looking at Mirahez, I think that's how you pronounce it, because they allow you to make, it's about like, I forget exactly what their deal is, but it's like crowdsourcing wikis of different kinds, like topic wikis, not like a general. Now, Wikipedia is a wiki that's an encyclopedia. So like my wiki would be a wiki on app tweaks or computer tweaks, and you have to, but like it's their house and they have their own rules, and it's a lot. I have to learn how the system works, and for some reason I just finally, it struck me, it's like when I was thinking about like how many layers people have to go through just to make stuff, and how it's not actually necessary half the time. Like I was going through all this effort to like learn about Foscord, which is now called Spacebar, so that I could tweak, like I could use a client that I could like reprogram to look and feel how I want. But like at the core, what I want on a Discord is found in other more user-friendly apps that already exist. So like I can just skip all that by just switching to different apps, and there's bridges now. There's these things called bridges where you can actually connect because IRC is just better for that kind of stuff, like just chit-chatting and having a client that you can configure. There's so many different clients, and it's an open standard, and it's like a really beautiful standard, and people are still building on top of it today. Whereas Discord, like, you don't know, like, it's proprietary and it's hidden and it's on purpose, and when Discord dies, then like people will have to make a replacement from scratch. They don't have to, they could just go to IRC, but that's the cycle, right? And like, why learn all this stuff so that I could edit a cloned platform of Discord when I can get the same functionality from IRC, where people have built up community knowledge already and it's just so much more accessible? You just forget about stuff like that. And there's literally bridges, there's bots where like you can connect a IRC like chat room to a Discord channel and still talk to your friends on Discord without having them come to IRC. So I forget about stuff like that. Anyway, right. So yeah, I was like, well, yeah, I could just host a website. Like I have some ideas for websites, and like I like NeoCities, but I don't know. I think it'd be really cool. I miss the days where like you go to a website and you know you're going to someone's computer. That's so cool. So I haven't really explored web hosting stuff yet. Like I know about Apache, and I've not heard great things about it, and I don't have anyone to teach me how to use it, so I might just stick with editing websites on my computer and then uploading them to NeoCities. Like, I'm pretty okay with that platform, but I think someday I would like to host a website. But my first new website I think that I'm going to make is these hacks. And then as far as like collaboration, I'm just going to put my email or something, or like a chat program or something, and then people just talk to me. I don't need to be thinking about scaling, because I'm not trying to be the world's foremost place to go to learn about app hacking. Like, I would be just as fine, if not happier, if there was like thousands of websites like mine that are all about like that are local groups with their own like small groups of people coming together to make their own little wiki about app hacks, because it doesn't need to be the case where there's just like one resource for a thing, like too big to fail, you know? Like that's why we're talking about open standards in the first place, and like the Fediverse, like part of the appeal of the Fediverse is that kind of redundancy, so that if one server or one section fails and just blips off, like, you know, you can still go on. But I feel like a lot of these tools meant for redundancy to make sure that this heavy heavy lifting network that we do stuff on doesn't like fail from like oopsies is just so extra. Like you know, it's the same situation with like big cities. Like big cities are cool because how connected they are and how much opportunity and like the power of tons of people coming together. But like it's also vulnerable from like attack. Like if you nuke a city, like if our entire population of our country was in one city, you would just nuke it and then it would be over. But like because there's tons and tons of small villages everywhere, then like it wouldn't be over. There'd still be plenty of Americans and like people would come together and make another big city. But that represents an inefficiency because like you have all these small towns that like are kind of doing the same thing. Like they're all slightly different, but they all have these core things like you know, like I mean it's not even true anymore. It's like there's not really subsistence towns anymore in the US where it's like every place has a farm and every place has a mill and every place has like I don't know. But yeah, like so many small towns import their food and their water and everything. So I don't know. I'm going on a tangent now. And I was just saying that I'm wrapping up this video with what I'm going to do next. Maybe I should do that every video, what I'm going to do next. I don't know. I think I just mostly just wanted to make a video and get this out there. And I promised myself that I'd become a YouTuber. I wouldn't try to do the cool, pretty, like, intro and transitions and sign off, whatever. When I'm done talking, I'm done talking.